Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the stars through the main display. His fleet of 12 ships had been traveling for 6 months to reach this distant system. Earth's leaders wanted to know if humans were alone in the universe. Today they would get their answer. Captain Lisa Bennett commanded the exploration ship USS Defiance. She had served under Morrison for 8 years and trusted his judgment completely. Her ship carried the best sensors Earth could build. If there was alien life in this system, she would find it. The fleet moved slowly through space near a planet the scientists called Kepler 442b. It looked like Earth from a distance with blue oceans and white clouds. Then its sensors picked up something strange. Metal objects were moving in orbit around the planet. They were too big and too organized to be natural. Morrison received Bennett's report with excitement and worry. Excitement because humans had finally found proof of alien life. Worry because the metal objects looked like warships. There were dozens of them, each one larger than any human vessel. The alien ships detected the human fleet within minutes. They moved with impossible speed and grace. Their hulls gleamed like polished silver, and they made no sound as they approached. Morrison ordered his ships to stop and broadcast peaceful messages on all frequencies. Ambassador Carl Hughes had volunteered for this mission, knowing the risks. He was Earth's best diplomat and spoke 7 human languages. His small shuttle left Morrison's flagship, carrying peace treaties and gifts from Earth. Hughes hoped to make history as the first human to speak with aliens. The alien response came as a transmission that somehow translated itself into perfect English. A voice spoke with cold authority. It identified itself as War Marshal Dekvar of the Zephyrian Empire. The voice sounded like metal scraping against stone. Dekvar's message was simple and terrifying. Humans were trespassing in Zephyrian space. They were primitive creatures who had stumbled into technology beyond their understanding. The Empire had conquered 40 star systems and destroyed countless species. Humans would surrender immediately or face total extinction. Hughes tried to explain that humans came in peace. He offered trade agreements and cultural exchange. He spoke about Earth's beautiful art and music. He promised that humans only wanted friendship with their galactic neighbors. Dekvar listened to Hughes speak for exactly 3 minutes. Then, he gave an order in his own language. A brilliant beam of purple light shot out from the nearest alien ship. Hughes and his shuttle vanished in a flash of superheated gas. The explosion lit up space for several seconds. Morrison watched his friend die and felt rage building in his chest. He had served in Earth's military for 30 years but had never seen such casual murder. The aliens had killed Hughes without warning or negotiation. They treated human life like it meant nothing at all. Bennett's sensors showed more alien ships arriving every minute. They came from deeper in the system where humans had not yet explored. Each ship was at least twice the size of Morrison's flagship. Their weapons were already charging for another attack. The alien fleet formed a perfect battle formation around the humans. Dekvar spoke again with the same cold voice. He explained that humans had 1 Earth year to surrender their planet. The Empire would accept nothing less than complete submission. Earth's resources would be stripped and its people enslaved or eliminated. Morrison knew his small fleet could not fight these aliens and win. Their technology was centuries ahead of anything humans possessed. But he also knew he could not simply retreat and abandon Earth to its fate. He ordered his ships to prepare for battle while secretly planning their escape. Captain Bennett understood Morrison's real intentions. She began quietly moving her ship toward the edge of the alien formation. Her engines ran at minimum power to avoid detection. The other human captains received coded messages telling them to prepare for emergency jump to faster than light speed. The first alien attack came without warning. Purple beams sliced through space and struck 3 human ships. The beams cut through their hulls like knives through paper. Explosions followed as reactors overloaded and atmosphere vented into space. Hundreds of human lives ended in seconds. Morrison gave the retreat order and watched his remaining ships scatter. The aliens pursued with lazy confidence. They destroyed 2 more human vessels before the survivors could jump to light speed. Only 7 ships escaped from the original 12. The journey back to Earth took 2 weeks. Morrison spent every day writing reports and reviewing the battle recordings. The aliens had been playing with them. Their weapons could have destroyed the entire human fleet in minutes. Instead, they chose to let most ships escape to carry their message. Bennett studied the alien technology from the sensor recordings. Their ships moved without visible engines. Their weapons seemed to bend space itself. Their shields absorbed human weapons without taking any damage. Earth's best technology looked like stone tools compared to Zephyrian science. The survivors reached Earth's outer defenses and broadcast emergency codes. Space stations and orbital platforms prepared for immediate attack, but no aliens followed them home. Vekvar was confident that his message had been delivered clearly. Morrison met with Earth's leaders in an emergency session. He reported everything he had seen and experienced. The alien empire was vast and powerful beyond human imagination. Their ultimatum was real, and they had the strength to carry it out. Earth had 1 year to prepare for invasion or surrender. The room fell silent as the implications became clear. Humanity faced a choice between slavery and extinction. The aliens had technology that made human weapons useless. They commanded fleets large enough to darken the sky above Earth. They had destroyed civilizations across 40 star systems, but Morrison also reported something else. The aliens seemed to follow rigid patterns of behavior. They announced their intentions clearly and gave their enemies time to respond. They might be powerful, but they were also predictable. That small advantage might be enough to build a defense. Earth's leaders began planning for war against impossible odds. They had 1 year to find a way to defeat an enemy that outmatched them in every category. The survival of humanity depended on finding weaknesses in alien strength and turning human limitations into advantages. General Patricia Wells received the worst intelligence reports in human history. Her office in Earth Defense Command had become a war room filled with star charts and alien ship designs. Every piece of information painted the same picture. Humanity was about to face an enemy that could not be defeated through conventional warfare. The Zephyrian Empire controlled 40 star systems across a region of space larger than human imagination. Their fleets numbered in the thousands. Each alien warship carried weapons that could crack planets and shields that stopped any known human weapon. War Marshal Vekvar commanded over 15,000 vessels of various sizes and capabilities. Colonel Don Pierce had spent his entire career studying military strategy. He ran computer simulations of every possible battle scenario. The results never changed. Human forces would be destroyed within days of the invasion beginning. Earth's defenses would crumble like sandcastles against ocean waves. Commander Amy Foster led the team trying to understand alien technology. Her engineers studied every piece of data from Morrison's encounter. The aliens used energy sources that humans barely understood. Their ships moved through space without visible propulsion. Their weapons fired beams of pure destruction that ignored physical armor completely. Earth possessed exactly 147 combat-capable vessels. Most were converted mining ships and patrol craft never designed for real warfare. The largest human warship was smaller than an average Zephyrian escort. Human weapons included missiles, railguns, and laser cannons that seemed primitive compared to alien technology. Wells called a meeting of Earth's best military minds. The conference room held admirals, generals, scientists, and engineers. Everyone understood the situation, but nobody had answers. They faced an enemy with overwhelming technological superiority and numerical advantage. Traditional military doctrine offered no solutions. Dr. Helen Chang presented her analysis of captured alien technology from Morrison's battle. She had studied fragments of alien hull material and weapon residue. Her findings were both hopeful and terrifying. The aliens relied heavily on automated systems and computer control. Their technology was incredibly advanced, but also predictable in its responses. The Zephyrian ships followed programmed patterns during combat. Their weapons targeted the largest threats first. Their shields activated in response to incoming fire. Their formations maintained precise geometric shapes. Everything about alien warfare suggested a highly organized, but inflexible approach to battle. Chang explained that the aliens seemed to have forgotten how to fight unpredictable enemies. Their empire had expanded through technological dominance for so long that they no longer faced creative opposition. Every species they conquered had tried to match alien technology and failed. None had attempted unconventional tactics. Pierce began developing new strategies based on Chang's observations. If the aliens expected conventional warfare, humans would give them chaos instead, small ships attacking in swarms. Suicide missions designed to cause maximum damage. Tactics that violated every rule of military engagement but might exploit alien weaknesses. Meanwhile, intercepted alien communications revealed Thekvar's invasion preparations. The War Marshal was moving 3,000 ships toward human space. His messages showed complete confidence in victory. The aliens referred to humans as short-lived vermin and planned to strip mine Earth after extermination. Foster's engineering teams began modifying every available human vessel for combat. Cargo ships received missile launchers. Passenger liners got armor plating. Even luxury yachts were fitted with weapons and converted into fighter craft. If humanity was going to die, they would die fighting with everything they possessed. The modifications violated every safety regulation and design principle. Ships became unstable and dangerous to operate. Life support systems were reduced to make room for weapons. Crew quarters were removed to install ammunition storage. Human vessels became floating bombs ready to explode at any moment. Training programs prepared civilian volunteers for combat operations. Former miners learned to pilot attack craft. Scientists studied alien weak points. Artists and teachers practiced loading missiles and firing cannons. Everyone on Earth understood that the coming battle would require total participation. Wells established new military units, composed entirely of volunteers accepting suicide missions. These pilots would fly the most dangerous attacks against alien formations. Their ships carried the largest explosives and were expected to be destroyed in single attacks. Thousands of people volunteered immediately. Chang made another discovery while studying alien psychology through their communications. The Zephyrians viewed warfare as a precise science with predictable outcomes. They calculated victory through superior numbers and technology. The concept of fighting beyond logical hope seemed foreign to their thinking. The aliens had never encountered a species willing to sacrifice everything for a slim chance of survival. Their empire conquered civilizations that surrendered when defeat became inevitable. Humans appeared to be the first species crazy enough to keep fighting when victory was mathematically impossible. Pierce designed the human defense plan around this alien weakness. Earth's forces would not try to win through superior strategy or technology. Instead, they would create so much chaos and destruction that alien computers could not process the battlefield effectively. Overwhelming confusion might accomplish what superior firepower could not. The plan required turning every human advantage into a weapon. Humans were smaller and more agile than aliens. Human ships could change direction quickly. Human pilots could make split-second decisions without consulting computers. Human tactics could adapt in real time to changing conditions. Foster's teams developed new weapons designed specifically for close-range combat. Traditional space battles occurred at distances measured in thousands of kilometers. Human forces would close to point-blank range where alien sensors became less effective. Ramming attacks and nuclear mines would supplement conventional weapons. Wells approved the most desperate military strategy in human history. Earth's forces would abandon all defensive positions and attack the alien invasion fleet directly. Every available ship would participate in one massive assault, designed to inflict maximum casualties before being destroyed. The strategy had no backup plan and offered no retreat options. Success meant humanity survived. Failure meant extinction. But failure was almost guaranteed regardless of strategy. At least this approach might make the aliens remember Earth as something more than another conquered world. Training intensified. As the invasion deadline approached, Pilots practiced ramming attacks against holographic targets. Gunners learned to fire weapons while their ships disintegrated around them. Engineers studied ways to overload reactors for maximum explosive effect. Everyone prepared to die fighting. Chang continued studying alien psychology and found one more important detail. The Zephyrians respected strength and despised weakness. A species that fought courageously even in defeat might earn alien respect. That respect could lead to better treatment for any human survivors. The final months passed quickly as Earth prepared for war. Factories worked around the clock producing weapons and ammunition. Shipyards converted every floating vehicle into a combat vessel. Training centers taught millions of people how to fight and die effectively. Wells knew the battle would be a massacre. Human forces would be destroyed quickly and completely. But they would die in a way that honored their species and protected Earth's memory. Future civilizations might remember humanity as the race that refused to surrender even when faced with impossible odds. Captain Ryan Clark volunteered to lead the first wave of desperate attacks against Zephyrian scout forces. His ship was a converted cargo hauler fitted with nuclear missiles and extra armor plating. The vessel shook violently during acceleration and leaked atmosphere through poorly sealed joints. But it could carry enough explosives to damage an alien warship if Clark could get close enough. The Zephyrian advanced scouts entered human space 6 months before the main invasion fleet. War Marshal Thekvar sent these ships to gather final intelligence about Earth's defenses. The scouts moved with typical alien arrogance, broadcasting their positions openly and following predictable patrol routes. Clark's volunteer squadron consisted of 23 converted civilian vessels. Each ship carried a crew willing to die in exchange for damaging one alien scout. The pilots were former cargo haulers, asteroid miners, and passenger transport operators. None had military training, but all understood the stakes of their mission. Engineer Kate Miller had developed new stealth protocols for human ships. The systems could not make vessels invisible, but could mask their energy signatures enough to confuse alien sensors. Human ships appeared as space debris or natural asteroids until they activated weapons. The deception only worked at close range but gave humans their first tactical advantage. The initial attack came near the orbit of Mars. Clark's squadron drifted silently through an asteroid field where Zephyrian scouts regularly patrolled. The aliens followed their standard formation and scanning patterns. Their ships moved like clockwork through predetermined routes without varying speed or direction. Clark waited until the lead alien vessel passed within 50 kilometers of his position. He activated his engines at maximum power and accelerated directly toward the enemy ship. His missiles launched while the alien crew was still trying to understand what was happening. Nuclear explosions lit up space as Clark's ship disintegrated. Under alien return fire, the alien scout suffered significant damage to its shields and hull plating. For the first time since entering human space, a Zephyrian vessel had been hurt by primitive human weapons. The alien crew quickly repaired their ship but transmitted urgent reports about unexpected human tactics to their fleet commanders. Commander Luke Davis pioneered extreme close-range combat techniques that exploited alien over-reliance on long-distance sensors. His modified fighter craft could accelerate to incredible speeds over short distances. Davis would approach alien ships at maximum velocity and fire all weapons during the few seconds before impact. The tactic was completely suicidal but highly effective against alien point defense systems. Zephyrian computers were programmed to track missiles and energy beams traveling at normal speeds. Davis moved so fast that alien weapons could not lock onto his position before he completed his attack run. Davis destroyed 3 alien scouts before his luck ran out. His final attack targeted a Zephyrian command vessel that was coordinating scout operations in the outer solar system. Davis punched through the alien ship's shields and detonated his fighter's reactor inside their engine room. Both vessels were vaporized instantly. The loss of the command ship disrupted alien coordination for several days. Scout formations became confused and began firing on each other when human stealth ships appeared without warning. Thekvar realized that human tactics were far more unpredictable than his. Intelligence reports had suggested Miller's stealth protocols evolved rapidly as human engineers learned from each engagement. The systems became more sophisticated and harder for alien sensors to detect. Human ships began appearing anywhere in the solar system without warning. Even empty space became dangerous for Zephyrian forces. The first major battle occurred at the Mars orbital stations. 40 alien ships moved to capture the human facilities intact for use as invasion bases. They expected token resistance from lightly armed station defenders. Instead, they encountered the largest concentration of converted human warships assembled to that point. Admiral Morrison commanded the defense from his flagship, while Bennett coordinated the civilian volunteer fleet. 200 human vessels of every size and description converged on the Mars stations. The force included everything from luxury yachts to massive or haulers converted into flying bombs. The aliens approached Mars using standard fleet tactics. Their ships maintained perfect formation and advanced at steady speed. Sensors swept space ahead of them looking for conventional defensive positions. They found nothing but empty space and a few apparently abandoned space stations. Human ships lay hidden throughout the Mars system, disguised as debris and derelict spacecraft. Miller's stealth systems had improved enough to fool alien sensors completely. The trap was set and waiting for the enemy to move into position. Morrison gave the attack order when alien ships reached the optimal position. 200 human vessels activated simultaneously and accelerated toward their targets. The surprise was complete. Aliens found themselves surrounded by enemies that had appeared from nowhere. The battle became a chaotic melee as human ships swarmed around larger alien vessels. Conventional formation flying became impossible when enemies appeared from every direction. Zephyrian computers struggled to process the rapidly changing tactical situation. Bennett led a group of converted passenger liners in ramming attacks against the largest alien ships. The civilian vessels had been stripped of everything except engines and nuclear charges. They accelerated to maximum speed and detonated on impact with alien hulls. The tactic violated every principle of space combat but proved devastatingly effective. Alien shields were designed to stop energy weapons and missiles, not multi-thousand-ton vessels moving at relativistic speeds. 3 Zephyrian cruisers were destroyed by ramming attacks before their crews understood what was happening. Human losses were catastrophic but acceptable under the circumstances. 60 converted ships were destroyed in exchange for damaging or destroying 3 alien vessels. The exchange rate was terrible but better than anyone had expected. More importantly, the aliens were learning to fear human unpredictability. War Marshal Vekvar received disturbing reports from the Mars battle. Human forces were not following any recognizable military doctrine. They treated every engagement as if survival depended on that single moment. Vekvar had conquered dozens of species, but none had fought with such desperate creativity. The Zephyrian commander began modifying his invasion plans to account for human tactical flexibility. Additional ships were assigned to screening duties. Patrol routes became randomized. Formation flying was abandoned in favor of scattered deployments, designed to prevent surprise attacks, but every alien adaptation created new opportunities for human exploitation. Random patrol routes meant isolated ships that could be overwhelmed by human swarms. Scattered formations reduced the effectiveness of alien mutual support. Fear of human tactics was beginning to affect Zephyrian combat efficiency. Miller's engineering teams developed increasingly sophisticated deception systems. Human ships began appearing as Zephyrian vessels on alien sensors. False distress signals lured enemy ships into ambush positions. Holographic projectors created phantom fleets that confused alien targeting systems. The psychological impact on Zephyrian forces became as important as the physical damage. Alien crews began reporting human ships in locations where sensors showed empty space. Fear and confusion spread through ranks that had never experienced unpredictable enemies. Davis had inspired a new generation of human pilots willing to trade their lives for alien casualties. These volunteers developed increasingly creative suicide attacks. Ships disguised as space junk would detonate near alien formations. Fake surrender signals would bring enemies close enough for ramming attacks. Morrison realized that human forces were finally achieving something impossible through conventional warfare. They were making the aliens afraid. Zephyrian technological superiority remained overwhelming, but their psychological advantage was disappearing. Fear made even advanced enemies vulnerable to creative attacks. The stage was set for the final confrontation between human desperation and alien arrogance. The HFY's main invasion fleet was approaching Earth with thousands of ships. But the humans waiting for them were no longer the same species that had retreated from their first encounter. They had learned to turn weakness into strength and desperation into weapon. Admiral Morrison stood on his bridge watching the largest fleet in human history assemble around Earth. Every vessel capable of spaceflight had been converted into a weapon of war. Military ships flew alongside cargo haulers, passenger liners, mining craft, and even luxury yachts fitted with missile launchers. The sight would have been impressive if Morrison had not known they were all going to die. War-Marshal the HFY's invasion fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system. 800 Zephyrian warships arranged themselves in perfect battle formation. Each alien vessel was larger and more powerful than anything humanity had ever built. Their combined firepower could reduce Earth to molten slag within hours. Captain Steve Johnson commanded the converted civilian fleet from the bridge of a former cruise ship, now bristling with weapons. His crews were volunteers who had signed up knowing they would never see their families again. Teachers, shopkeepers, mechanics, and artists had become warriors in humanity's final battle. Commander Maria Santos coordinated the military vessels from her position aboard Morrison's flagship. She had studied every piece of alien technology and tactical data gathered during previous encounters. The information painted a grim picture but also revealed patterns that might be exploited by desperate tactics. The human fleet numbered over 600 ships of various sizes and capabilities. Most were civilian vessels that would normally carry passengers or cargo across peaceful space lanes. Now they carried nuclear weapons, armor plating, and crews willing to die for their species. The converted ships leaked atmosphere, suffered constant mechanical failures, and could barely maintain formation. The HFY examined the human force through his fleet's sensors and felt something resembling amusement. The primitive creatures had gathered every floating piece of metal they possessed. Their ships looked like scrapyards compared to Zephyrian engineering. The coming battle would be less a military engagement than an extermination operation. Morrison gave the attack order and watched 600 human ships accelerate toward the alien formation. There was no strategy beyond closing distance as quickly as possible and causing maximum damage before dying. Conventional military doctrine had been abandoned in favor of organized chaos, designed to overwhelm alien tactical computers. The human fleet spread across thousands of kilometers of space as it approached the enemy. Ships moved at different speeds and followed unpredictable courses. Some vessels charged directly at alien formations while others moved in wide circles seeking advantageous positions. The lack of coordination was deliberate and designed to confuse enemy targeting systems. The HFY ordered his ships to open fire when the humans reached optimal range. Purple beams lanced across space and began destroying human vessels by the dozens. Explosions lit up the darkness as ships disintegrated under alien weapons. But for every human ship destroyed, 3 more continued advancing toward their targets. Johnson led the first wave of civilian vessels directly into the alien formation. His converted cruise ship carried enough nuclear missiles to damage a Zephyrian cruiser if he could get close enough. Alien point defense systems tracked his approach and began firing at maximum rate. The cruise ship's armor plating vaporized under concentrated alien fire. Hull breaches vented atmosphere and crew compartments into space. Johnson's bridge took a direct hit that killed half his officers. But the ship's engines continued functioning and drove the vessel deeper into the enemy formation. Johnson launched every missile his ship carried during the final seconds before impact. Nuclear explosions flowered against alien shields and hulls. The cruise ship disintegrated completely, but its sacrifice damaged two Zephyrian vessels enough to reduce their combat effectiveness. Johnson and his crew died knowing they had hurt the enemy. Santos coordinated wave after wave of attacks against specific alien targets. Human ships swarmed around larger Zephyrian vessels like angry insects attacking giants. Individual attacks accomplished little damage, but the cumulative effect began wearing down alien defenses. Commander Tony Rodriguez flew a converted mining ship equipped with industrial drilling equipment and nuclear charges. His vessel was slow and clumsy but heavily armored from years of operating in dangerous asteroid fields. Rodriguez used his ship's mining lasers to cut through alien hull plating while maneuvering for a ramming attack. The mining ship absorbed incredible punishment from alien weapons. Its armor held long enough for Rodriguez to reach his target and activate the drilling equipment. Industrial cutting beams designed to slice through solid rock proved effective against alien hull materials. Rodriguez detonated his nuclear charges inside the enemy ship's engine room. Nancy White piloted a luxury yacht that had been converted into a high-speed attack craft. Her vessel carried no armor but could accelerate faster than any other ship in the human fleet. White used her speed to dart between alien ships while firing missiles at point-blank range. White's yacht was too small and fast for alien point defense systems to track effectively. She destroyed two enemy escorts before concentrated fire from multiple sources finally caught her ship. The yacht exploded in a brilliant flash, but White had proven that even the smallest human vessels could damage superior alien technology. The battle reached its climax as hundreds of human ships poured into the alien formation. Zephyrian tactical computers struggled to process the chaotic battlefield. Their programming assumed enemy forces would maintain formation and follow predictable attack patterns. Instead, they faced complete disorder that defied mathematical analysis. Vekvar watched his sophisticated fleet struggle against primitive human tactics. Alien ships fired at targets that disappeared behind debris clouds. Formation flying became impossible when enemies attacked from every direction simultaneously. Several Zephyrian vessels accidentally fired on each other in the confusion. Captain Bobby Lee commanded a military destroyer that had been modified for suicide attacks. His ship carried the largest nuclear device in the human arsenal connected directly to the reactor core. Lee planned to detonate both simultaneously while in contact with an alien dreadnought. Lee's destroyer punched through alien point defenses through sheer speed and luck. His ship took massive damage but remained functional long enough to reach the largest Zephyrian vessel. Lee activated the detonation sequence and watched nuclear fire consume everything within a 50-kilometer radius. The explosion destroyed Lee's ship, the alien dreadnought, and three nearby vessels caught in the blast radius. It was the single most successful attack of the entire battle. The loss of the dreadnought disrupted alien command and control networks throughout the formation. Grace Turner flew a converted passenger shuttle carrying her elderly husband and their adult children. The family had volunteered together for the final battle rather than wait helplessly for alien invasion. Turner's shuttle carried enough explosives to damage an alien cruiser if she could complete her attack run. Turner's family operated the shuttle's weapons while she focused on flying. Her husband targeted enemy weak points identified by intelligence reports. Her children loaded missiles and maintained the engines. The family worked together during their final minutes of life. The shuttle reached its target despite heavy alien fire. Turner flew directly into an alien cruiser's engine exhaust port and detonated her explosives inside the ship's power core. The alien vessel suffered catastrophic damage and drifted helplessly through space with its engines destroyed. Morrison watched the battle unfold and realized something unprecedented was happening. Human losses were catastrophic, but alien casualties were mounting faster than Vekvar had expected. The primitive human fleet was inflicting real damage on technologically superior opponents through pure determination and creative tactics. Alien shields that had seemed impenetrable began failing under sustained attack. Zephyrian hulls that had appeared indestructible cracked under nuclear explosions and ramming attacks. Advanced alien technology was proving vulnerable to crude human weapons. Applied with sufficient desperation, the tide of battle slowly shifted as accumulated damage finally broke through alien defenses. Zephyrian ships began dying faster as human weapons penetrated their protective systems. Fear spread through alien crews who had never experienced effective resistance from conquered species. Santos realized that humanity might actually achieve the impossible. The human fleet was being destroyed, but it was taking a significant portion of the alien invasion force with it. Every enemy ship damaged or destroyed reduced the threat to Earth. Victory was beginning to seem possible despite overwhelming odds. Vekvar stared at his tactical displays in growing disbelief. His technologically superior fleet was losing ships to primitive human attacks. The creatures refused to surrender even when defeat seemed certain. They fought with a ferocity that defied all logical military analysis. War Marshal Vekvar watched his invasion fleet die around him, and finally understood what made humans different from every other species in the galaxy. The creatures fought like cornered animals with nothing left to lose. They traded dozens of ships for every alien vessel destroyed and seemed to consider the exchange acceptable. No civilization in Zephyrian history had demonstrated such willingness to sacrifice everything for victory. The massive space battle had raged for 6 hours with no clear winner. Human ships continued pouring into the alien formation despite suffering catastrophic losses. Over 400 human vessels had been destroyed, but they had damaged or eliminated nearly 200 Zephyrian warships. The exchange rate was unprecedented in galactic warfare. Admiral Morrison commanded the battle from his crippled flagship while fires burned in 3 compartments. His ship had taken multiple hits from alien weapons but remained functional enough to coordinate the final phase of humanity's desperate gambit. Morrison knew his fleet was dying, but they were taking the invaders with them. Commander Maria Santos had transferred to a backup vessel after her original ship was destroyed. She continued directing military operations while civilian volunteers flew their converted vessels into alien formations. The boundary between professional soldiers and civilian fighters had disappeared completely in the chaos of battle. Captain Steve Johnson's replacement led the remaining civilian vessels in increasingly desperate attacks. The converted cruise ships and cargo haulers had proven surprisingly effective against alien technology. Their large size and improvised armor allowed them to survive long enough to deliver nuclear payloads at point-blank range. Vekvar realized his fundamental mistake too late to change the outcome. Zephyrian military doctrine assumed that superior technology would always defeat primitive weapons. The Empire had never encountered enemies willing to accept massive casualties in exchange for small tactical gains. Human tactical thinking seemed completely insane by galactic standards. The aliens had designed their ships for overwhelming firepower rather than sustained damage. Zephyrian vessels could destroy entire fleets with their advanced weapons, but their hulls could not withstand the accumulated damage from hundreds of nuclear explosions and ramming attacks. Human desperation was proving more effective than alien technology. Dr. Helen Chang had predicted this outcome based on her analysis of alien psychology. The Zephyrians fought wars through mathematical calculation and technological superiority. They had forgotten how to deal with enemies who ignored mathematical odds and fought beyond logical hope. Human irrationality had become a weapon against alien logic. The battle entered its final phase when the last organized human formations launched coordinated attacks against Vekvar's command ships. Morrison had saved his most experienced pilots and best-equipped vessels for this decisive moment. If they could eliminate alien leadership, the invasion might collapse completely. Lieutenant Paul Anderson flew a heavily modified fighter designed specifically for penetrating alien defenses. His ship was small enough to avoid most enemy weapons while carrying enough firepower to damage command vessels. Anderson had volunteered for the mission knowing he would not survive the attack. Anderson's fighter slipped through the chaotic battlefield using debris clouds for cover. Alien point defense systems were overwhelmed by targets and could not track every small human vessel. Anderson reached the alien command formation and selected Vekvar's Flagship as his primary target, the fighter's weapons were insufficient to penetrate the flagship's heavy shields, but Anderson had a different plan. He overloaded his ship's reactor while flying directly toward the alien bridge. The resulting explosion created a brief gap in the enemy's defensive systems. Captain Ellen Foster led a squadron of bombers through the gap created by Anderson's sacrifice. Her ships carried the largest nuclear weapons in Earth's arsenal, specifically designed to crack alien hulls. Foster's attack run succeeded in damaging Vekvar's flagship and disrupting alien command networks. Foster's squadron was destroyed immediately after completing their attack, but the damage was done. Alien formations began losing coordination as communication systems failed. Individual Zephyrian ships started making independent decisions rather than following centralized commands. The loss of coordination allowed human ships to exploit gaps in alien formations. Small groups of converted vessels swarmed around isolated enemy ships and overwhelmed them through concentrated fire. The aliens' technological advantage became less decisive when they could not coordinate their superior firepower. Vekvar attempted to re-establish control from a backup command vessel, but the human assault continued without pause. Every time alien forces began reorganizing, desperate human attacks disrupted their formations. The creatures seemed to sense weakness and press their advantage regardless of losses. Captain Bruce Miller commanded one of the last functional human military vessels. His ship had been damaged in multiple engagements but remained capable of coordinating final attacks against alien formations. Miller led the surviving human fleet in a last desperate charge against Vekvar's remaining forces. The final phase of the battle became a test of endurance rather than technology. Human ships kept fighting until their hulls cracked and their engines failed. Alien vessels suffered increasing damage as their shields weakened under sustained bombardment. Both fleets were dying, but humans seemed more willing to embrace destruction. Grace Turner's daughter Kelly continued her mother's mission after the family shuttle was destroyed. She had transferred to another converted vessel and maintained the attack against alien formations. The young woman fought with the same determination that had driven her mother to sacrifice everything for humanity's survival. Kelly's ship was one of dozens still functioning from the original civilian fleet. These vessels continued attacking, despite having no hope of survival. Their crews had accepted death as the price of damaging enemy forces. Every alien ship destroyed reduced the threat to Earth and justified their sacrifice. Vekvar finally understood that his invasion had failed, even if some of his ships survived the battle. The human defense had cost him too many vessels to continue. Offensive operations. His remaining forces were insufficient to conquer a planet. Defended by creatures willing to fight this desperately, the War Marshal made a decision that would echo across the galaxy for generations. He ordered his surviving ships to withdraw from human space and return to Zephyrian territory. The retreat was not a temporary setback, but a permanent abandonment of conquest plans. Humanity had earned the right to survive through their willingness to die fighting. Morrison received reports of alien withdrawal with mixed emotions. Humanity had achieved the impossible and defeated a technologically superior enemy. But the victory had cost over 90% of Earth's space fleet and hundreds of thousands of lives. The survivors floated in damaged ships surrounded by debris. From the greatest battle in human history, the withdrawal of Zephyrian forces marked the end of the immediate threat to Earth. But more importantly, it marked humanity's emergence as a force that other galactic civilizations would remember. The species that brought hundreds of ships to every alien vessel and made numbers meaningless through sheer determination. Vekvar transmitted his final message to the scattered human survivors before departing the solar system. His words would become famous throughout known space as the epitaph for an empire that had learned too late to respect human courage. They brought 100 ships for every one of ours, it didn't matter. The phrase captured the essence of humanity's approach to warfare. Numbers and technology meant nothing when facing enemies willing to sacrifice everything for victory. Human tactical doctrine had evolved beyond galactic norms into something that alien civilizations would study and fear for centuries. News of The human victory spread through interstellar communication networks faster than the retreating Zephyrian fleet. Other species learned that the galaxy contained a civilization, capable of defeating superior enemies through pure determination. Humanity had announced itself as a force that refused to accept defeat regardless of odds. Morrison's surviving ships limped back to Earth carrying news of impossible victory. The planet had been saved, but at a cost that would reshape human civilization. The survivors were heroes, but they were also reminders of the price paid for freedom. Earth would rebuild its fleet, but would never forget the lesson learned in the depths of space. The galaxy had gained a new power that fought by different rules than any previous civilization. Humanity had proven that technological superiority meant nothing against enemies willing to die for victory. The phrase, "it didn't matter," would become humanity's calling card in a universe that now knew to fear human determination above all other weapons.